Lisa, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, first question that I want to ask you is what are you struggling with currently?
Well, I'm struggling with going through menopause for the second time. It wasn't good enough the first time, so we needed to do it again.
How normal is that for someone to go through it twice?
Not normal at all. I was postmenopausal for 3 years and I started bleeding. And I called my doctor. I'm like, I haven't had a period in 3 years. What the heck's going
Wow.
on? And I finally got rid of the hot flashes and the nastiness and the hormones. I mean, I went crazy when I was through perimenopause, menopause. I was just totally a different person. And he's like, oh, you need to come in. Something's wrong. We did a bunch of tests. I had some fibroids. He's like, you need a full hysterectomy. And I'm like, why? Like, I just have fibroids, no big deal. And he goes, yeah, no, they're a big deal. So I put it off because I didn't want to. I tried to do like a holistic approach. I avoid it at all costs because, well, the reason why I didn't have it was a total mindset thing. At 16, I had 2 abortions. And the thought of somebody actually, the thought of somebody actually going in and my doctor going in and taking out all my female organs, it just brought back those memories. And I did not want to relive that. And I was done with that. And it took me like 6 months before I kept bleeding. And when my husband and I went on vacation in December, we went to see my granddaughter, and then we went to Florida and we drove because you couldn't fly, right? And it was awful because I just kept bleeding. And I'm like, it wasn't just like a little spotting. It was like gushing grapefruits. It was disgusting. And
after not having a period for 3 years, you're like, what is this?
Right. And I'm traveling, so you know how bad that is. I didn't want to use well, first of all, I never even heard of the cup until like a couple months after that. I didn't know that didn't exist when I had my period. But, I didn't want to use a tampon because I wasn't sure if it was safe or not. And I called my doctor, hey, is this safe? So I just dealt with it. Plus, it was such a mess. I think it would have been in the bathroom more anyway. So I called him back after vacation. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I'm not going to deal with this. It's crazy. So he's like, okay, so for pre-op, I connected with a wonderful nurse practitioner who was ballistic, and we went through all of it. So the fibroids had actually grown through the uterus, through my wall of my uterus.
Oh, wow.
Especially on nerves. So I had this low backache in my right, I thought it was my hip, on the right-hand side for years. And I'm like, why does my back, so it's 2016 when I started.
That's a long time.
I was in the middle of menopause. Yeah. I was going to the chiropractor and this and that, and I was doing all kinds of stuff trying to get rid of this back pain, right? Well, come to find out, as soon as I had my surgery, my back pain went away. Come to find out that the tentacles of these fibroids had grown through the wall and were hitting all my nerves and giving me all this pain. So they did a full hysterectomy, and my doctor did pre-op. They're like, well, you're going to have menopause again. I'm like, oh, yay. I get hot flashes. That's one thing I liked about menopause. I'm weird. I don't like to be cold. I'm a tropical girl. I belong at the 90-degree weather, eating spicy food. So during menopause, there's no spicy food, there's no chocolate, and there's no red wine. I'm skipping that. Yeah, because those are all things that cause hot flashes. So the first time I had my
That's not a way to live.
No. And I just
chocolate, red wine, and spicy foods. What's the point of life without them?
I know, right? This is my daily diet, right? This is what I ate every day. I still do. And I was like, okay, so you're saying that if I cut those out of my diet, I won't get a hot flash? He's like, well, not guaranteed. I'm like, I'll live with a hot flash. I only went to bed with an ice pack. And I discovered that peppermint oil is phenomenal for hot flashes.
Interesting.
So I put that on the back of my neck.
Yeah.
On the back of my neck, where basically, because when you have a hot flash, it's nothing like you've ever experienced before. It comes from within. It's just like this heat that straight from inside your body. And I would just put a drop in, and I would put it in my water. And then at nighttime, I'd sleep with ice packs, and I would have the fan on. And this is a girl who slept with heating pads and 4 blankets, flannel pajamas, socks on.
I resonate.
My husband,
I'm the same.
Did you miss a spot? I don't think you're bundled up enough there.
You'd swear it was 40 below outside.
Yeah, and it was like 80. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, this is ridiculous. My husband's like, what is wrong with you? Like, you were freezing cold and now you're hot and the covers come on, covers go off. I'm like, whatever. I don't know. I'm eating more spicy food though.
I have so many questions for you. You just dropped 5 different paths of stories that I could take you on right now. You do know that, right?
That's awesome.
Like, where do I begin? I guess the first question I want to ask you is what's the timeline age-wise of your first menopause and your second round of it?
Well, for everyone, it's different. They say it's anywhere from like 40 to, it can start anywhere from 40 to 50, and then it could last up to 10 years. And for me, I got my period when I was 10 years old. It was two months before my 11th birthday.
Me
So
too.
when I went into menopause, yeah. So when I went into menopause, I was 43 years old. And my doctor was like, well, you're a little bit too young. And he's like, when did you have your first period? And he's like, oh, yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
So if
right.
you start that early, then it's like after 33 years, it's
Yeah.
not a crazy late time.
Oh, yeah. I had all my kids. I mean, I had friends that were free. I'm like, I'm not having a baby. Like, I was clockwork. Every 28 days, I'd have my
Right.
period. Well, now I missed it. And I'm like, oh, when did I have sex? Like, am I pregnant? Like, my husband's 10 years older than me. So, because I have all my kids spaced out. And I'm like, there's no way.
No.
So then, of course, we got over that. And then I realized, oh, this is perimenopause. I'm like, perimenopause?
Yeah. What's that?
Wait. So that's the period. Well, your period is trying to figure out when to stop. So you go through bouts of your body changes. You get like a lot of weight gain, bloating, and then you'll get your period for like 3 days. Well, for me, everyone's different with the time frames. But you'll get your period for like 3 days, and then you won't get it for like 8 weeks, and then you'll get it like really heavy for 7 days.
Oh,
And it's
you
just
just never know.
irregular. You never know. It's not predictable at all. And, like, then they want to put you on the pill to regulate it, and they want to check your estrogen and your testosterone levels, see if you need a shot or whatever. I'm like, I'm holistic. I'm not doing any of that. Just, give
Hell
me some
no.
Yingling. Yeah, give me some Yingling and I'll be good or whatever. Endoflex. I did a few different things that work. It works really well. So I was able to stop. I was able to regulate the period, but like, not to the point where your body gets used to that. And then with the hot flashes were the most wicked thing. That's like, they were so weird because you just don't realize it. The first time I had a hot flash, I was sitting at work, and work is always, we were in the office and it's always
Cold,
cold,
warm, cold, warm.
Yeah, no, in our office, you're always pretty cold. You're like an ice cube. And then I was sitting there, all of a sudden it got so hot. And I'm like, look, it's the middle of winter. I'm looking around and I'm like, and I wore a suit. So, like, how you wear like a sleeveless top underneath your suit? I took my jacket off. Everyone's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? I'm like,
It's
it's
freezing
so
in
hot
here.
in here. They're like, you're nuts. It's freezing cold. They're all bundled up in sweaters. I'm like, you guys, you're crazy. It's hot.
And was that your first sign to think like, okay, yeah, I'm probably going through menopause now?
Yeah, and then I was started talking to my friends and say, okay, so what's it like? 'Cause they were a few years older than me, and they're like, oh, it lasts forever. And of course, doom and gloom. They're talking about all the nastiness and
Forever. What defines forever? 5 years?
yeah, no,
That is
10
a long
years,
time.
12
5, 10.
years. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. They
Is
said
that
the
the
longest.
average?
Yeah, they say 10 years is the average.
10 years.
Uh-huh. Yeah, people on high
Hell?
heels.
Why don't I know about this? 10
Well, think
years?
about that. Yeah, yeah. Well, unless you have a hysterectomy, then you can go through it sooner.
Yeah,
So
but that's not the way out.
you know, but at least like if you've never hysterectomy before you hit perimenopause, you only need to do it once, which is good. Me, I got to do it twice, which was so much fun. So
Like,
I think the second time around it's not as bad. But if you ask my husband, he'll probably tell you different because my moves. I had my hysterectomy on January 7th. 2 weeks later, I was walking around and stuff, and I like chocolate and salt were my best friends. I'm like consuming bags of Reese's peanut butter cups. And I was just like, these
mhm.
are so good. And that's all I ate for the whole day. It's like, nope, that's all I want. Okay, where's the red line now? Okay. Oh, you know what? I would love some spicy chicken wings. A pizza with chicken wings. He's like,
The
oh,
3 that this diet you're laying out, I've had those days, and it's usually those 3 things, and I don't know, maybe it's the ingredients or the antioxidants in them, but that Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the red wine, and then chicken wings, I get you. Like,
yeah,
what is
yeah.
it about those foods that our body just craves when we're going through those hormone imbalances, I wonder?
It's something about this. I don't know. I think it's the balance of the chocolate, the cacao powder with the right amount of salt and sugar all combined
Yeah.
into one.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, can you walk us through what it means to have a hysterectomy and what that defines and what they're taking out of your body?
Well, there's partial hysterectomies in full. So depending on where you're at, they can do a partially, I believe, and a partially leave your ovaries, which doesn't make sense to me because then you still have these stacks of eggs with nothing, nowhere to go. So then they give you the option to do a full. So I just went, I'm like, you're in there anyways, just take it all out. And mine was, my fibroids were small enough. So usually you have to have a hysterectomy because you might have fibroids or endometriosis or some kind of like cancer or some kind of growth, maybe a tumor growth or whatever. And sometimes they don't even know until they go in and remove everything how bad it really is. And that's what happened to me. And my ultrasound showed like multiple fibroids, but they didn't show them at risk. You couldn't see in the ultrasound how they had grown through the wall. And, they're doctors, they don't know, they can't see everything. So when they went in with me, I just said, like, if you're going in, just take it all out. I'm not going to go in half-ass. Let's do this right. So full hysterectomy, it was early enough that they didn't have to cut me open. So I had a sister-in-law who had a full hysterectomy. She got cut open because she waited. And she was at the point to be in the post-menopause or to be in menopause, you have to be 1 year with no bleeding. So no
Before they
period for
will
1
allow a
full year.
hysterectomy.
No, before they called that before they say that you've been through menopause. So you have your
Oh, okay.
perimenopause, your menopause, and then your postmenopause. In order to say you are officially in menopause, you have to be 1 year period free. So I had a period the first year, right? I had my period sporadically. The second year, I went 9 months with no period. And then I got my period. I was like, what? You gotta be kidding me. I only had 3 more months to go.
Yeah.
So then I got it, and then I had to start all over again. So in December of 17, that was a full year of no period. They officially said, okay, you're in menopause, you're starting postmenopause. And then they check your testosterone levels, your estrogen, see how you're doing and all that. Mine were fine, so I didn't need any medicine. Some people need medicine. Some people get so hyper and angry and full of anxiety that they need to take something to calm them down. So
Right.
like some of my coworkers had to take like Zoloft and stuff like that just to be able
Wow.
to, just be able to calm themselves. So the full hysterectomy takes every single thing out. You have no
And
parts
define
at all.
everything. So we're removing ovaries. What else are we removing?
Ovaries, fallopian tubes, everything's your uterus. The only thing that stays intact is your cervix. And they'll keep your cervix in if you don't have cancer or if it's your cancer,
So then afterwards, what can you not do anymore? So obviously you can't have kids.
right? That's about it.
That's about it. Okay. So it doesn't affect
Mm.
really anything else. Obviously your hormones are whack, but
Yeah,
then ultimately it's just you just can't have kids anymore.
right.
And
Yeah.
in your case, you were done having kids, so it
Yeah, it was no big deal.
wasn't a problem there. Did you hesitate at all when they were saying, like, you need a full hysterectomy? Like, I feel like I don't know if it's just, like, the word and the way you say it. It just seems so much scarier and worse than it is.
I don't think it's great, but because it's a part of you, it's your woman part, right?
Yeah,
So I was in a hysterectomy Facebook group, and a lot of women feel like you're taking away a part of my femininity. You
yeah.
know, this is
It's like
my
when women have breast
love.
cancer. It's like you take that, you
Yeah,
feel like you're losing a part of being
yeah,
a woman, for sure.
yeah, yeah. And it's that, like, if you think about it with your sense of love, you can grow a child. That love
Mm,
sense, that's your sexual part, right? It's like, okay, your body is made to have sex, to have babies, to reproduce. But obviously you enjoy it, but if it's not there, are you still going to enjoy it? Now, some women in the group said they couldn't wait. And then other women groups like, yeah, it's like 2 years. I can't even get excited at all and anything. It's like,
okay.
wow. So it just depends, I think, how they were before and how they are. Fibroids, it actually lowers your sex drive because it just dries you out so bad. And it's just because you have a foreign object in your body's like fighting overtime to
Mhm,
attack it. So it almost like takes away all of that pleasure. But sometimes it's painful for people too. Like if they have intercourse, it might be painful.
mhm.
So I didn't have that issue. I just had it was just super, super dry. It's like no matter what I did, it was like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
No
So,
pleasure at all.
in terms of fibroids, what causes those? Or what caused yours in particular?
They don't really know what causes them. They just happen. They can just grow. A lot of times our bodies will just compensate. They do run in my family.
Okay.
So it is something that my family members have had. My mom actually had tumors and she had a full hysterectomy when
Oh,
she
wow.
was right after she had me. So she was about 35 years old when she had her full hysterectomy. She had
35?
a tumor like the size of, yeah, she was young. So
Wow.
she had a tumor the size of a bowling ball.
That's like having a
Yeah, it
baby
looked
in
like
there.
it looked like she was pregnant. And
Oh my god.
so everyone's different. It just depends on our bodies. And I always think it's our diet. I really believe
Yeah?
that what the thing, if you look at the labels, like we were kidding before about reading the labels, but that stuff really affects you. Your body's not meant to eat MSG and dextrose and then what happens is they clog up all your little fat cells, right? So then your fat cells can't function and then everything gets clogged. And then your body's like, well, wait a minute, there's like foreign stuff here, but we'll go attack it, but then you give it more and then it attacks something else. And it's like your body's in overwork. So, like we talk about, you can do this for so long, but your body's going to wear out. It's like riding on a flat tire, driving your car with no gas, riding on fumes. Eventually you're going to stall. And
Yeah.
that's what happens to your body. So that's one
Growing
of the ways that fibroids form.
Yeah, growing up and, like, when you had your kids and everything, did you always have trouble with, like, your periods and your hormones and everything, or it just came out of nowhere like the fibroids?
No, it just came out of nowhere. I was
Wow.
28-day cycle to the T from the time I was 10 years old. I never even I had cramps once when I was 15. And I was like, I thought that was the weirdest thing. And then I never had any other issues.
So what do you think
So
changed? You think it was a diet thing?
for the fibroids,
Yeah.
it could have been like the hereditary stuff. And sometimes our body just responds differently. So instead of getting like with cancer, you get fibroids, which is like the least thing. You can have cancerous, like I said, tumors or whatever. So when they said I had fibroids, those could be cancerous, but mine weren't, which is really good.
Thankfully. What does that surgery look like? Is it a long surgery? Is it a long recovery process?
There was 6 weeks recovery process. The
Wow.
surgery itself, I think, was like 8 hours. I have a
Wow.
phenomenal doctor. He was amazing.
Were you nervous at
And I
all going
woke
ins
up.
into surgery?
No, no,
You seem super
no.
easygoing about it.
Yeah, the medical team was amazing.
Mm.
I mean, I had so many people come in and check on me. And the doctor and his staff explained the procedure. I had like a diagram. I went into his Facebook group to like people who had done it before me. And I called up my aunt and I said, like, have you ever had one? Like, what's it like? My sister-in-law had gone through it. So I had a lot of people close to me that kind of, and everybody had their own war stories. And because they actually went in through robotics, so I had that, I can't say a lot of words, so laparoscopy or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So they basically cut 3 holes in my belly
Mhm.
and they went into my belly button and pulled out all the organs. So they pulled out, yeah, through my belly button.
Oh.
Apparently the belly button opens right up.
Can you tell I've never been through childbirth before? I'm, like, so queasy about all of this.
Yeah. So it was actually wasn't that bad for recovery. Like I had stitchers and a couple band-aids and I mean it was drugged up when I woke up.
Mm.
But they made me get up and I was nauseous. I was like, and they wanted to give me a chicken salad sandwich. I'm like, that's the
That's
last thing I want to eat.
disgusting.
Yeah. So, but I knew I had that in order to go home because I had the option because of the pandemic. I had the option to stay overnight if I wasn't be able to go home within 4 hours after surgery. So my mindset was, I'm going home within 4 hours. I will go home. What do I need to do to go home? And if I had to move my bowels and go to the bathroom, right? So I'm like, no problem. Give me water, right? So I was drinking all this water and stuff, and then I got so nauseous. And that they said that was from me coming down from the anesthesia. And I was like, I need give me something. Like, no, I have all my oils. I can't have them with me. So I have nothing with me. And I'm like, oh man, I need my ginger. Where's my ginger? So I'm like, so the nurse goes, I can get you some rubbing alcohol. That usually helps. I'm like, okay, fine. Get me some rubbing
Mhm.
alcohol. So she gets me rubbing alcohol. It helps. And I think you got to get me something to calm my stomach down. So I'm like, give me saltine crackers. And I'm just like, okay, an hour later, you need to eat. I'm like, okay, what do you have? She's like, well, everything's closed. I'll see if I can find you a sandwich. I go, okay. I go, something really light. If you could just get me like a piece of chicken
Yeah.
with some salad or something, that would be really good. And I did that chicken salad sandwich.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not what I
Chicken
said,
and
woman.
salad. Yeah, chicken and salad equals, yeah. So I took one bite and I was like,
I would puke.
gross. And then she's like, okay, call your husband. You can go home. I was like, fantastic. They made him wait 2 hours before they let me downstairs.
Oh, wow. So you said it was during the pandemic. What month was this?
January.
Of this past year?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I asked, what are you currently struggling with? Yeah, it's still pretty current. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So if you
wow.
think menopause lasts a long time, going through menopause after postmenopause, yeah, to me, it's like forever. And the one thing that my husband picked up was that my moods are so, like, my energy levels are so low some days. He's like, why are you being such a bitch? I'm like, what do you want? I'm being a bitch. You're being a bitch. Like, yeah, we're right. Okay. Yeah, no, but maybe you should try smiling or something. You'd like to take your own advice. You're coaching all these people to
Yeah.
live their Oola life. You just take your own advice. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to record myself to see what I look like. And oh, wow, I was shocked. Literally, I was on a coach call the other day. I had to get off of it. I was crying for no reason. I could
Just the
not stop crying. I was just like, what the fuck? Did a live act with it about it afterwards because we're talking about, oh, what makes you special? And all I could think of, I was receiving all this negative thoughts like, you're not special. Who's going to listen to you? Like, you're dirt, you're trash, you're scum. And no matter what I did, I'm like writing, I'm like crossing out the negative and putting the positive. And I'm getting my hormone oils out. And I'm like, I did my morning, did I skip my morning routine? Did I forget? Because one of the things with menopause is you forget a lot. It's like, you get brain fog big time. And I was like, wait a minute, did I not do the oils this morning? Like, I said, stop, why am I acting this way? I don't know what happened. All I know is that my energy levels were so freaking low, and no matter what I did, I could not get them up. So I hung up from the call. I got off the coach call, and I cried for like 20 minutes.
Wow, something got really brought up for you, hey?
I guess asking about name 5 things that are special about you. I have no idea. I can name 5 things. I was just like, what is wrong with me?
Right.
So
So, yeah, so you said the recovery is 6 weeks, so are you just in bed for 6 weeks? You probably have, like, the full diaper and everything on because 'cause you're probably still bleeding, you have bandages everywhere. Is your husband taking care of you? Like, what's your life look like for 6 weeks? Can you still work, like, with your coaching business?
I was able to still do the coaching business. I was doing it from bed and in my laptop because I was not supposed. The first 2 weeks, I had a hard time. I actually did an Aroma Freedom session. I had surgery on Thursday, and I did an Aroma Freedom session on Sunday with a group. And it was a
Wow.
group I had worked with
Like, 48
before.
hours later.
And it was crazy. And I didn't want to cancel. Like, I made a commitment. I'm very loyal. I keep my appointments. And at the end of it, one of the girls reached out to me. She was, are you okay? I go, yeah, what? She goes, you just seemed off. And I literally just met her. I've only talked to her like a couple of times. But in Aroma Freedom, you get to know people really well. And I said, well, I just had surgery. She said, what did you have surgery? What did you have? And I told her, she's like, oh my, why didn't you cancel? Why didn't you reschedule? I'm like, no, I made a commitment to all of you. And she's like, well, I could smell. She goes, because your energy levels were so low. And I said, really? Because I was trying so hard to to have that calm and serenity and encouragement. So 2 weeks after, I could start going up and downstairs. They still didn't want me to drive. And I could do a little bit of walking around the house. I couldn't lift more than 5 pounds. So they didn't want me to put any strain on my stomach. No workouts for 8 weeks. So the first time I went jumping, I got pissed. So
I
mad.
would.
It was like in the middle of March. I gained all this weight. So I was fine 8 weeks surgery. I was still my weight. And then all of a sudden I went back to eating normal because I told you I was eating Reese's peanut butter cups by the bagful. That was my meal for the day. I went from 110 to 130 pounds in like 3 weeks.
20 pounds in 3 weeks.
Yeah. And I'm like,
From what? You weren't eating that much.
yeah, just from eating chocolate. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just, it was weird because every single piece of clothing I had fit me. I did my measurements and I was shocked at how big my stomach had protruded out. And I was just like looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, okay. And
Wow.
then with my Fitbit, I started tracking my sleep and I realized I was only getting like 4 hours of sleep per night.
There you go.
Sleep's the most important thing, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'll change my sleep pattern. So I reinvented my sleep pattern. And I did my sleep regime. 9 o'clock at night, my alarm would go off. I'd turn everything off. I'd wash my face and do my little facial and put my oils on, run my diffuser, run the music, read a book. stay until like 10 o'clock, 11 to 4 o'clock. I'd finally fall asleep.
That's
I had
7 hours later.
Yes, I just wide awake. Just like, okay, anytime I go to sleep. So it was awful. It
What do
was
you
like
think
the
it
absolute
was? Why couldn't
worst.
you sleep? Were you just not expending any energy?
I think it was just the imbalance of the testosterone and estrogen trying to figure out like who's going to be where and when. And just not eating right, just not being able to sit down to a normal meal and say, okay, this is what I need to eat.
Mhm.
Sugar causes a lot of inflammation. So
Mm.
I imagine that's why my stomach felt so bloated, but I could not stay away from it. Like it was so addictive.
Yeah,
It was,
it is. It's more
I
addicting than drugs.
I didn't want to go out and do anything. So it wasn't I'm tired. I wasn't tired to sleep, but I was physically tired. I did not want to go out and hang out with people. I just wanted to be leave me alone. Let me read a book or whatever. So I became very introverted and very moody, and I was tired of brain fog. I was you know when you know something is wrong but you can't pinpoint it. So I decided to connect with this doctor who does custom fat loss, and he tests all of your body vitals, your systems, your thyroid, your adrenaline gland and all of that. And it's a metabolical program. The metal bars and they ping off your body. And so I had a sluggish thyroid and a sluggish and adrenaline glands. And I've had a couple of other organs that were just like not functioning properly. So they said it could have been the metals in the body. It could have been from the surgery, you know, like, cause they give you so much stuff in that medicine for the surgery. Like I guess the anesthesia alone has all kinds of stuff that affects you. So like, we're just going to do a complete detox and see what happens.
So let's link this all back for the audience. So obviously one of the biggest side effects from your hysterectomy was a lot of weight gain, a lot of hormone imbalances like we spoke of, and you're in the process of trying to fix all of that with this new diet plan and whatnot. What other side effects? I know you spoke when we talked first about just your low sex drive and how that's affecting your relationship. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, well, we don't have that physical relationship. They dried up.
For how long now, though? Because of the hysterectomy or prior to that?
Prior to that, I was bleeding. So I had the fibroids, and that kind of puts a sense into your mind of, oh, well, you're bleeding. I don't want to like have intercourse. And then you're bloody. And it's like, oh, did I hurt you? Are you okay? So you have that mindset. And, you know, it may or may not have been painful, but it kind of puts the damper on it. I've been with my husband for 32 years. So, you
So
know,
how long has this been going on? For like a decade now?
we're the low sex drives. Well, or yeah, because 10 years. So when I went through perimenopause and started getting like, and he would kid me. He's like, "Are you gonna get drunk?" And just I would drink wine and then get horny. He's like, "Yeah, I can drink every single time you want to have sex." I'm like, "Well, if it's the only thing that's gonna work." So different things would work, but like, yeah, alcohol seemed to do it. But then it got to the point where like, no, the bleeding really, and unfortunately, there was a bad odor from that bleeding with the
Mm.
fibroid. It was
Just not attractive. And yeah.
no, not attractive at all. And just, I did not feel like when your stomach's bloating, you're like bleeding, you're just like, ew, like, no, don't touch me. And it just kind of goes out the door and to get that back. So like my mindset is like, it's not like I gained all this weight, bloated. Like, you know, I don't really look sexy in the bedroom. Like once in a while, I'll walk around naked. Like no response whatsoever. I'm like, I might as well just not even be here. So there's like none of that. Like, you know, so
So
I
how
came,
has this affected your relationship? You're still married.
yeah, we're still married. We're always working on our marriage. If you're not working on your marriage, you're working on your divorce.
Mhm.
So we get a little aggravated with each other. There's times where we can't stand each other, but we still love each other. You know, we're very committed and loyal. Um,
But
you
don't you
know,
think sex is a big part of a relationship?
not at all. No.
Did he
Mom is
think that?
yeah, because he's 10 years older than me, so he's 64. I'm 53. So you get to the point where and we always kid each other. It's like, is that we're the same partner? Like, no, like you go out, you see people, like it doesn't do anything for me. And we just don't have that same sex drive. It doesn't matter who you're with. I mean, we have friends that are like, we make a date every Friday night, and regardless if we want to or not, it's like, you know, like I don't want to have animal sex.
I don't I actually mind you, I'm 28 years old, so I'm looking at it from a different lens, but I think I disagree
Yeah.
with you. But I mean, you're living it and your marriage
No.
is still great, so I could learn something.
Yeah, I know I do have some friends. Okay, they have different backgrounds, so I mean, they have sex every single day, and they're like really into each other. So
I bet they're
what do they
Latina.
do? Partly, yeah. They probably are.
That's a stereotype
Um,
that I love about them.
yeah. Um, yeah, and they're very like they rest that way, but they feel good about their bodies. And I think mindset has a lot to do with it. If you don't feel good about your body, you're not going to be able to share that with somebody else because
I agree.
your subconscious is telling you that, like, ew, you're not attractive. You're not, you don't smell good. You didn't brush your teeth. You didn't like you think you have to have sex, you brush your teeth. Like when you're dating somebody, like when my husband and I are dating, like you made sure you went to the bathroom, you brushed your teeth, you made sure you smelled nice, you were sexy, and you had that dry. After your husband sees you through all your surgeries, your kids, your worst moments, your
Mm.
ugliest moments, and it's just like, okay, I love you, but like I'm not right now, I don't feel like having sex. Like we could, but you definitely have to date each other. So we're trying to, and I cancel that word trying. Scheduling a date and going on a date is so important because that's where you do the flirting and like the touching or
So
stuff
do
that
you
you
feel like
expect
you
in
can
a
still
row.
feel that void of, like, a sexual attraction without having actual intercourse?
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
you still feel loved in a way where your relationship doesn't feel stale?
Yeah, because it's the time, the quality of time, the compliments. Like men need respect, women need love. So if a man's not loving you, you're not going to respect him, and that's what creates this vicious cycle. And
Mhm.
how do you do that? Because we focus on the negative, we focus on all the issues that instead of looking at the resolution, we look at the problem. So your marriage gets kind of muddled in that because all of a sudden you have a conversation every single day, and you're complaining, you're troubleshooting, but you're not solving anything. You're just venting. Like that's not healthy. You need to figure out, okay, why are we here? What are we doing? But then like people are like, oh, we need to spice back up. But then you say it, but then you don't do anything. So then you
So
go
how
into
do
the
you get the
mundane
spice
thing.
back up?
You schedule dates.
Mhm.
You do things spontaneously, like you walk around naked. Yeah. Draw a bath for your mate. Do a massage. Like walk up to him and just massage his shoulders. Bring him a cup of coffee. Will you go for a walk with me? Just let's go hang out. Let's just not. Let's talk about our future. Let's dream. Don't lecture. Don't scold me. Don't give me 5 things that you want me to do for you. Just be. Just be in the now and in the present and just really enjoy each other. Yesterday, I came home. We were gone for like 45 minutes. We come back, and my husband gets up and walks, brushes past me in the hallway, and just stops and gives me a kiss.
That's
Oh,
cute.
sexy, you know? Oh, yeah. What's that going to do for my energy levels? It's going to be like, oh, and over my heart starts beating.
Mm.
Stuff like that. Just little surprises that you totally don't expect. Open the door, like you come home from an outing or whatever. Sometimes I'll come home, my husband's just sitting in the family room. It's like, go, hi, I'm home. Like, did you miss me? No, I didn't miss you. Okay, wrong attitude.
Wrong answer.
Let's change this attitude.
I'm still shocked though. Like when you speak about your husband and your relationship though, like I would never say you have a low sex drive. But what you're saying is like we have like the actual act of sex, we're not doing that all the time, but it sounds like you're actively doing things in your relationship, the touching, the massaging, the complimenting, the dates. Like, yes, sex is a huge part of a relationship, but I think all of that is even bigger.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's the part that's good. Like, if we didn't do that part, it would be like that because it'd be like, you're just a roommate. Like, I don't
Yes.
want a roommate. I want someone to connect with. And then I always think of it in the psychological saying because that's where you get when it goes back to your thought process. That's where you get aroused. You could think about like that kiss in the hallway. Like I think about that, like, oh, it makes my heart fire. But then if you go back and then you think about something maybe that was negative, it's like your focus goes down that negative road. It's like, no, take it, activate those thoughts and let's go back to the positive. You get mad at somebody, like you get really frustrated, like I just wish they would go out and like go out with their friends or whatever. Cancel that. Oh, they're so fun and loving. And then you see them as fun and loving. You remember the fun and loving times. You don't remember. And most of the time we get mad at somebody because we don't ask for help and we expect them to read our minds. Like, so today I was bringing in big, huge gallons of alkaline water and I got really tired. It's like, why is anybody on there helping me? And like, oh no, cancel that. I didn't ask for help. So what am I going to go in the house being mad? Because People didn't know I needed help that were home. So I made to like stay in the garage for a few minutes. I worked back outside. And it's just like, okay, no, I didn't ask for help. I chose to do it myself. Nothing to do with anybody else. Let's focus on the positive. And I walked in the house. No, hey, how's it going, everybody?
And everyone's fine. I find a lot of people ruin relationships with all of these unspoke about expectations. It's like the
Absolutely.
the key to disintegrating a relationship, whether it's a friend, a coworker, a manager, a husband, a
Mhm.
sibling, anything. Why do we do
Yeah,
that?
you're
Why
absolutely
do we
right.
think people can read our minds? Why do we think people are thinking about us all the time?
Because we do. We take these thoughts and we just automatically assume that it's a negative thing. I don't know why we're wired to think negatively before we think positively. And
Mm.
we always want to blame everybody when we have to look within. And you have to draw that circle and say, okay, I can only change me. So how can I change the energy in this room? How can I get you to focus? How can I get you to respond? If you're in a bad mood, you're in a bad mood because it's something you. We have nothing to do with it. I'm your scapegoat. So why am I your scapegoat? So if I can say something to you to help you lift your energy and you not bring my energy down, then let's do it. But they say like when I was working in the office, one person was negative. They, man, I'm so stressed out from this job and it's freaking done it on. Well, then it was a chain reaction. And there's like two of us in the office to be like, oh, but what about this client here? Well, oh, they were so fantastic. And then everybody would stop and look, oh,
It'll
yeah, that's what
throw them off, won't it?
it does. It does. It's like that smile. Like if you smile at somebody, it's contagious. You can't
Mhm.
help. You have to smile back. So if you
I
could think about how to raise the energy all the time and just stop and think, why blaming this? I know a lot of women that are divorced. And one of the same thing that they share is it's his fault. He did this, he did that. Well, what's your part? What's your
Yeah,
part?
it's 2
You
people in
make
a
any
relationship.
change.
One quote that I read recently, it said, "When you walk into a room, don't adapt to the energy, influence the energy." And I thought that was really powerful.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, I love that quote.
But you know when you read a quote, I know it was meant for you because it's been a couple times now where I've seen that pop up again now. And on different platforms, I'm like, "What is the universe telling me?"
Yeah.
There's a time and place for that, like, low energy venting, complaining, gossiping, but not all the time. And I'll like, even with friends or boyfriends or anything, coworkers, I'll save space for a little bit, but if I hear you complaining and venting about the same things over and over and over again, I'm not saving space for this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good motto to have too.
Yeah. Especially when they don't take your advice and they keep coming back with the same crap.
Well, now I learned never to give advice. Don't ever give advice. Let them come
Mhm.
up with it themselves because nobody wants advice, especially your friend. And it's actually what women want advice. They don't want advice
Yeah.
unless they specifically ask for it. So as a coach, I've learned not to ever give advice. I'll give you tools. You
Mm.
decide you want to use them, but you have to make a decision because I can tell you to do A, B, and C every single day. You do it for 2 days and you say it doesn't work. If you really, why did you really do it? Two, are you doing it because you want to or because you were told to? If you were told to, there's no way you're doing it because you're defiant right then because I'm not doing anything that anybody's telling me to do. You have to
Mhm.
want it. You have to know your why in order to get your results. If you don't know your why, just don't. You can hire as many coaches as you want. It doesn't matter. So I had self-sabotage problem for years. So because of the two abortions, I never forgave myself. And I was so angry. But I didn't know I was angry. I didn't know that those two decisions in my life, I was somebody who was narcissistic young player, totally had me 15 to 18. I was like a robot.
And
And
that's
like
such
he
a
told me to
pivotal time.
jump. Yeah. And he told me to jump my ass out high. And if I try to get away from him, I try to break up with them. And he would threaten me, like, I'll make you so ugly, I'll rearrange your face, I don't want to look at you. I was just like, believed him, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. So when I finally got away from him, it took a long time to heal from that. It took over a year to heal from that relationship. I didn't trust anybody, okay? Let alone myself to make a decision. So I swore off of people. I didn't want anything to do with people. I found a whole bunch of new friends, got rid of all those toxic people. But I didn't know, like I was smoking cigarettes and drinking a lot. And I was using retail therapy because I wanted things and I didn't want to wait for them because
Mm.
now is the time. So I had created this cycle. And then I would get so angry at myself. Like the credit card bill would come. or I would like feel like crap hungover from a drinking binge. I had a son at the time. I was 18 when I had my son, and I was responsible. I had to take care of my son. So like I was this great mom Monday through Friday. Friday night, I would go out and party and do all that stuff. And then Saturday morning, I had to get up to take care of my child. It was like miserable. Like I was so like not feeling good. And
Mhm.
now angry. So I started going to counseling, and the counselors get the little pen and paper out. So how do you feel today? I'm telling you how
Oh
I
my
feel. I feel like
god.
freaking
Yeah,
shit.
I'm hungover
Okay.
as shit. Yeah.
Done. I'm like, I'm done. I don't need how I feel. I don't even know what a feeling is. Everything's anger. Okay. So they say a counselor is like a pair of jeans. You gotta wait till you find the right pair, right? When it
Are you gonna
fits.
wear them in a bit?
Yeah, right. Right. But 10 visits is what my max was. If they couldn't help me in 10 visits, I was moving on. So I moved down a lot. So I went through group counseling. I went through this thing called Matt Talent Ministry, which is kind of like modeled after AA. And still no breakthrough. I'm like, well, I'm just going to be a bitch for the rest of my life. I guess that's just who I am, right? You're kind of out of a certain cloth. I'm a bitch. So I'll be miserable and alone and I'll just be bitchy. I accepted that. And I didn't have a lot of friends. The friends I had were just like you. They were bitchy too. And we got along just fine.
Birds of a
And
feather, hey?
yeah, right. We were good girls. We were good Catholic girls. We went to church on Saturday night, drank Saturday night, Sunday morning, slept in, and we were good. We were going through the motions. So I did that for a while, and I was just like, there's something's got to give. There's got to be a better way to live life. I was 40 years old when I realized that there was feelings other than anger. And I found out anger wasn't even like a dominating feeling. It was a hidden feeling. I found out it was depression turned outward instead of inward. So instead of locking myself in the bedroom, I just
You lash
looked at
out.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just locked myself in the bathroom a lot and cried, and I couldn't figure it out. And my husband was like just very patient with me. He was just like, well, why are you so upset? And like we got into some huge arguments because I would just like not let it go. Like I would just
Push him away.
like when you push somebody so much. And he's like, you gotta do something about this. So I went to this other counselor and they're like, well, start a gratitude journal. Okay. So I read Ann Boleskamp's Love My Thousand Brand the tagline. The challenge was write 10 things a day that you're thankful for and the reason why. I'm like, okay, I can do that. 10 things, no big deal. Well, then I decided to post them on my Facebook wall, whatever, and I was writing 10 things down. Okay, I hate snow. I actually like snow because I saw this beautiful picture in the morning, 6:30, there was tons of snow. And the street lights were on. I was walking my dogs and the lights were making the snow glisten like diamonds. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, that is so beautiful. Like, that is the most gorgeous thing. And I was like, wait a minute, I hate snow. Like, that's not like, so I'm not, if the gratitude journal can change my heart in that short of time, then I need to continue doing it. So I still do that. I started that in 2013.
Wow.
Still do it to this day. One of the modalities that was my first pivot to getting rid of anger. And then I just said, I'm a Christian. I love the Lord. And I just said, show me people. Show me the way you see people. And I started looking for the good in people. Like instead of focusing on their, like I had this guy who sat next to me and we have like a partition in between us. Every morning I get to work and he'd be sitting in his desk. He'd be like, whatever the women that he was doing, he'd go over or something. He'd go, yo, every single morning.
That would
Like,
drive me insane.
oh my God. It drove me nuts. Okay. And my nerves were
I'd bang
shot.
on that wall.
Well, I went,
Be like,
"Guys,
shut up.
so after putting up with this for like 3-4 years, we kid about it now. He retired a long time ago, but after putting up with 3 or 4 years, I said, okay, let me just focus. I mean, you can say, you no longer bother me. I thought, well, you must be. So I popped up over the thing. I said, every single morning you do that. You've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now. I said, what is it? Why are you doing that? He goes, oh, because I eat these little donuts and they're just so delicious. He goes, I guess I didn't realize I was saying it out loud. He goes, I'll stop doing it. I didn't know it bothered you. And I'm like, okay, no worries. And he still did it. It didn't bother me anymore. So it's like, okay, he's
So,
doing
like you said earlier, you're choosing not to be bothered by it. You're choosing to see someone different. It is a big mindset thing. I remember doing a course, and that was one of the biggest takeaways I took from that was if you want someone to change your view about them. Because people don't change. You just gotta change how you react to them. And it seems like such a simple thing, but damn, it's hard. But it does make a huge difference in how you interact with people.
amazing. I'm writing a book about it. It's titled Let's Be Real. Very negative outbursts into positive reactions. And it's all
Mm.
about these conversations that we have and how you can turn them around just by saying something positive to the person who's like spewing at you. And around me,
Life
like a
uses
lot of
them
people will
so
still do
quickly, doesn't
themselves.
it?
It does. It does. And there are some people who are harder than others that will just, don't matter what you say. I have a relative like that, don't matter what you say, but they have a medical condition and they have a mental issue. So I imagine it's harder, like if you're dealing with somebody, but that's a bona fide medical condition. It's
Right.
just somebody on the average, on the norm, like if you could pick up somebody who has narcissism, who has gaslighting, you can recognize that chart because you're really thinking about who are you as a person? Do I want to connect with you at that level? And how am I going to respond to you? Because there's some people we're not with. I'm sure you experience that with your podcast and stuff. I know I've interviewed clients and I would like, I can't touch you in a client because we are not,
We don't vibe. Yeah.
yeah, we don't vibe at all. But I have a coach friend that you will connect with. So like,
Good.
it's all about that thought process. And then that's one of the things I do. Like for me, I knew that I needed to help women with their mindset, but I felt like such a fraud, such an imposter that I couldn't do it. So I had like Oola, we talk about blockers. Some of them are fear, shame, guilt, self-sabotage, and imposter syndrome, right? I had all these things working against me because one of the ways of healing is forgiveness.
Right.
I forgave everybody, but I never forgave myself until like I thought I forgave myself. I've been on a healing journey since I was 2015, and I thought I forgave myself in 2019. Come to find out, and the first time I shared my stories about my abortions was in August of 20.
Right.
I was going through the process of getting certified as a coach and an Aroma practitioner, and I was in a coaching group and we meet a mastermind. And the coach was asking me, I'm like, I'm not sure if I know my purpose. She's like, you so know your purpose. Get out. She was like, we're on a Zoom call. Just get out of your way. Get out of your way right now. And I kind of looked at her and I was just like, I'm not in my way. She goes, you know what? Go do a brain dump. Go do what you go do what you say you teach people to do. Go do it on yourself. And I was just like, all right, fine. And I did it. And I was like, I didn't like what I saw. I'm like, there's
What
no
was it?
way. And I did a session and realized I was holding on to two things. I felt like a bird in a cage. The door was open. I could leave whenever I wanted. I could fly, but I chose not to because I was so afraid of what other people would think. Big kind of people pleaser. And then I wasn't good enough because I had this shame, guilt, and who's going to accept me? And then the imposter syndrome was it took me so long to figure out how to have a positive mindset. How could I possibly teach anyone that, right? Yeah, I'm not going to be credible, not going to be authoritative.
Right.
And once I got over that, when I realized it was because I didn't forgive myself because I was still so hurt and couldn't talk about it. And so my coach said, I think you should work with people who have had lost babies, like even through miscarriage or
Right.
adoption. And ironically, my clients had experienced both of those things. And I was always afraid to tell somebody who had a miscarriage that I had abortion because it was my choice. A miscarriage isn't their choice. But in the
Right.
sense of your soul, it's the same journey. That soul is lost. That soul is not born on earth because they choose not to be, because the universe calls them back. And when you think of it that way, it's like, oh, that would have happened. So all good, right? It comes from that. And there's purpose in that pain. So you can use that pain to help others. And once I realized the connection, I had the most incredible visual. I was going for acupuncture and I was laying on the table and I don't know if you ever had acupuncture, but
I
it
haven't, but I
basically
want to.
oh, do it. So you lay on, they set you all up. The acupuncture sets you all up, and then you lay there and kind of relax and like the music playing. You got your eyes closed, you're relaxed. And I just started like praying, and all of a sudden, I had a boy and a girl that aborted, and Michael and Samara, their names. I had dreams about them. They came to me and hugged me. They were each on one side of me and they kissed me and said, Mom, and this is the weekend of Mother's Day. This just happened in May,
Wow.
like I think May 9th. This is the Friday before, and they're like, Mommy, we love you. We forgave you a long time ago. God forgives you. You need to let go of not forgiving yourself. Truly forgive yourself because you are completely forgiven. And we're with Grandma, we're with Uncle Kenny, we're with Grandpa, we're going to be with you someday too. So just know
Beautiful.
we love you. And it was the most, I woke up like I was asleep, but I opened my eyes and I
You
was
could
in
tell you were crying.
tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, tears. And it wasn't like crying. It's just like, you know how your tears gave your body, the cleansing tears. And
Mhm.
I was just like, wow. So the acupuncturist came back in and I told her, you're not going to believe what just happened. And it's always like a really beautiful thing. And that was the second time. The third time I actually dreamt about them. The first time I dreamt about them, my mom had passed away in October of 2018.
Mm.
And I dreamt about them and I told my daughter, I keep having a dream about this boy and this girl, this baby boy and this baby girl. The baby boy has black hair and the baby girl has blonde hair. And they're like a year apart or so. They're close in age. I don't know how far apart. And I always think, so my son was 33 at the time. And then I had two nieces in their late 20s. And when I wrote my book, it's all in my book, Forgiving the Girl Inside, Finding Balance, Freedom, and Spine in Your Life. Well, I had to tell them. My kids don't like to read. My daughter likes to read. My sons don't. If they read the book, they're going to know the story. He doesn't know. So I called him up, and his wife was pregnant at the time. And I said, I got to tell you something very personal. And he's like, okay, sure. What's going on? I said, well, you know, I imagine when I was 18 in the circumstances. I said, well, I was pregnant 2 times before you. He goes, you were? He goes, oh, wow. He goes, what happened? Did you miscarry? I was like, thank you so much for thinking that. Like, what? Like, I always thought that people would say, well, you're a murderer, you're trash, you're this, you're that. And then he's like, I said, wow. I said, no, I didn't. I go, you know, basically chose abortion after being pierced into it. This, you know, I'm not going to go into details. I don't want to talk bad about anyone. I go, but I lived with it my whole life. And it's
Mhm.
been one of the reasons why I'm super angry. I go, and I read recently that it created DNA, and I want us to break that DNA chain. I don't want that in our family.
Mm.
So, telling you for two reasons. One, to break the DNA. Two, I have a book coming up that shares my story with the world. So,
And
you know,
you need to know before the rest of the world knows.
yeah. So he was totally cool with that. So
Oh, I'm so happy.
we are working very hard at breaking that DNA, breaking that because my talking before my mom passed away, she had a lot of anger. In the family, there was a lot of anger, but because apparently my grandmother was very angry and stuff. And I do this thing called the hearing journey, which is a 29-week class.
Mhm.
And it takes you through like the painful events and you process your thoughts and like your beliefs and why you think this way and what you truly are feeling and why are you feeling this way. And it goes so nicely in with like the Aroma freedom and the Oola framework where you're balanced
Mhm.
in some key areas. So it's always about being balanced. If you aren't balanced, you're off and it's going to come off as snarkiness or anger or frustration. People call it being hangry. If you don't eat right, you don't sleep right, that has
You're gonna
a
be.
factor. Yeah, but sometimes it's not even hunger, it's thirst. And maybe it's not
Yes.
thirst for water, it might be thirst for your thoughts because they're so out of whack. And you can convince yourself that your age cheating on you. You can convince yourself, you know,
100%.
like you had a great, and as humans, we're only born with two fears. Do you know what the two fears are?
No, what are they?
The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. So you
Had both
saw
of
how
them.
you jumped. Yep, you saw how you jumped. So you can't control that. Don't matter what you do, you'll
Right.
always be afraid of those two things. All the other fears are learned. They can't be unlearned. So
Mm.
how do
So
you
it's falling and loud noises?
yep, we're fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Yep, it's the only two things that
Interesting.
we're born with for fears. Everything else is learning to be unlearned. And
Very
then all men
interesting.
yeah, and all men share two things in common when it comes to fear. The fear of the unknown is the one, and then the fear of tomorrow, like what's going to happen tomorrow. So
Mm.
the fear of the unknown is like, if I take this risk, if I invest in you, I could, oh,
Mhm.
are you going to do what you say? Can I trust you? Can I investment, this real estate, this stock market, whatever it is? How much money can I invest? That's fearful because you don't know. You're gambling, right? So that fear of not knowing what the outcome is going to be. Or if I switch jobs, or if I move to a different state, or if I marry this person, or if I live out this dream, or if I go take this, if I do that, whatever you do, whatever career path, whatever choice you make, even as a kid, like you're given a choice, your parents might say, do you want to play soccer or football? I got to have a choice. Should I do both? No, you got to choose.
Mhm.
I don't know what to choose. I've never done either one. How do I know what to choose? You got to try it,
Mhm.
right? You try and see what you don't like, and then you make a choice. But for some reason, when as adults, we still get stuck in that. No, you have to choose without knowing. No
Right.
one gathers the facts before they make the choice. And we're all put here for a reason. Do something spectacular. But we're so caught up in the crap. We're so caught up in the negative And we're so worried about all this stuff that doesn't matter that we don't do what we're supposed to do. We're stuck in our pain and we don't know what our purpose is. So, and then some people will know what their purpose is, but they're still stuck in their pain. So you're
Mm.
chasing your purpose, you're chasing your dreams, you're not living your dreams. So let's live life differently. Let's transform with purpose. That's my biggest dream is to do that. So every day I get up and I don't see results the way I want to see them. So automatically my negative thinking. Well, what did you screw up yesterday? What did you do? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Stop. Okay. Celebrate your win. Our intuition is so powerful. And I don't know how often we ignore it. I ignored it for years. I was saying earlier, in August of 19 was the first time I told my story about my abortion. That was terrifying. I was crying. I did it on a workshop and I was going to cancel the workshop 4 times before I did that. And after the first few times of sharing it, it got easier. But you have to grieve what you're hurting from. And we don't fully grieve. We just keep going and say, it's okay, it's okay. But you got to process and you got to do this, you got to do that. No, you need to grieve. You need to allow. Sometimes the worst thing that's going to make you trigger, it's going to be in the worst spot. It's okay. Tears are okay. And to be totally comfortable with yourself and say, it's okay to cry. It doesn't matter why I cry. If you really can embrace that and grieve and process and truly forgive yourself and understand that you are the only one that you can change and make the difference, you can really live out your dreams instead of just going through the motions trying to figure it out.
Lisa, I feel like I just did a 2-hour coaching session with you, and I feel very blessed. I can only imagine your hourly rate, so I'm like, "Woo." But what I love about you, there's so many truth bombs into everything that you just said over the course of our conversation, but it's funny that you took so long to tell the story of your abortion and everything because you are a very open person and ready to share. And what I love about certain coaches or people in any kind of business is, especially if you have a client facing business, is people are buying into you. So if you're not sharing anything about you, then what are people signing up for? You know, that you can build that connection a lot better when you share, and then it opens up the floor for them to want to share and learn and connect. So I can only imagine how great of a coach you are.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So, final question to close it all out. Where can people find you? Because I know they'll want to.
I have my own website, lisadrennon.com. And I have a Facebook page called SOAR Society, a place for faith-based female entrepreneurs to soar to their highest potential. I'm very active in that group and on my personal page as well, just Lisa Drennon. So
Amazing.
yeah, I offer free strategy calls. So we call them my SOAR cheer calls. We spend about 25 minutes. I ask you a few simple questions to pinpoint what is overwhelming your thought process, how your energy needs to be raised. And we pinpoint that one thing and you go off, and it's been amazing be touching our people. So I'm having a lot of doing that.
Yeah, I get that. Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I was really enjoying this.